everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Susan Shapiro Barash. For over 30 years, Susan has been researching female infidelity. In her fascinating and provocative updated investigation, A Passion for More, we learn why and how a diverse group of women from their 20s to their 80s conduct affairs. Through personal accounts of over 70 women, we get a wide-angle picture of how a lover is chosen with agency. Welcome, Susan. How are you? Thank you so much for being on People on Dating. What's going on with you? And again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you for having me on. All good. I'm actually in South Florida for a few weeks. So
So you're enjoying the nice 75, 80-degree weather, while here in New York, it's about 35 to 40. So yes, rub it in.
I know. I'll be going back to New York soon. So here I am.
So Susan, tell us your journey. You wrote a book, which we'll talk about later, A Passion for More. What was that journey like to get here to today? You're author of a bunch of books that we'll definitely touch base on. So what was Susan's journey like?
Well, I write both nonfiction and fiction.
Right.
And for both books and for the nonfiction, I have always chosen a topic that intrigues me in terms of the faces women wear versus how they really feel and what they're really up to. So I've done 3 studies on the role of wife in contemporary society. I've written a book called Tripping the Prom Queen, The Truth About Women in Rivalry. I've looked at how mothers and daughters and colleagues are positioned in society, a book on sisters. Always really trying to understand what it is that a diverse group of women, really disparate in every way in terms of age, race, religion, ethnicity, level of education, earning power, where they live in the country, big cities, rural areas, all that's in between, trying to understand how women in a patriarchal culture navigate a path. So that is really what my nonfiction is about. And for my fiction, I take the research, especially about women and in terms of agency, power, voice. I'm looking at how the drama plays out in fiction.
Right. Which leads us to today's topic, infidelity and why women have affairs, cheat, whatever you want to call it. So Susan, in your journey, talking to other people, or whether you're reading or listening to other podcasts or TV, are the women of today, and we're talking about the millennials especially, because are they more empowered than ever before to explore the sexuality? Is it something that current men are not doing to keep a woman from exploring, so to speak?
So why do convention-bound women embark on an affair, whether they're in committed relationships or marriages? And you mentioned young women. In the last 3 years, this is a 30-year study. Here's the book.
Yes, show us, please. Look at that. A Passion for More.
Right. And so, I wanted, from the beginning of this research in the early 90s, when I was a very young writer, I was really looking at why women so value marriage. And at the same time, at some point in their marriage, according to my research, 70% of women will have an affair of some kind, including an affair of the mind, a cyberspace affair, a water cooler affair, an affair where you are crossing a line, even if you're not meeting this man in a hotel.
Wow.
And more recently, partly because of COVID, women of all ages, women in their early 20s who are just moving in with a boyfriend or just getting engaged or just saying, yes, you are the one, to women in their 80s, which I call the gray affair, are, as in the gray divorce, are out there conducting these trysts. Right. And so you ask me why? Because they long for something they're not getting from the primary partner.
And all right, so let's touch base on that. Is it something, can it be physical, emotional, maybe a combination of both? The man is too busy, he's working, he's trying to make a name for himself, or can it be he's lacking skills in the bedroom that somebody else can provide? I know that's a loaded question. Yeah.
Or so much that's in between that, really. I mean, what I've noticed is that in my study is that not many women say, gee, my lover and my husband are similar. So they're looking for what they can't get in that relationship. So if the sex isn't great or it isn't adventurous enough, then the women are looking for that with the lover. But often it's emotional. And these emotional affairs have really great meaning for the women because they're now feeling very recognized.
Talk more about that, because that's I've dated a woman that was definitely emotionally unavailable. So touch base on that. What can someone bring to the table to make that woman more emotionally available, if my question made any sense?
According to my 30-year research, women have affairs for 4 different reasons.
Okay.
They do it for the first type of affair, according to my study, is the empowering affairs. And that's where a woman really, although there's no equal pay for equal work in America, these women are trading in the same currency as men, in the sense that they earn money, they take business trips, they can have some fun on the side. They also feel entitled to get what they want in their lives.
Okay.
So those are the empowering affairs. And then we have the sex-driven affairs, and that's pretty obvious. And that's about, not like, as I said earlier, the sex isn't quite what you want it to be. And so what's interesting about these affairs would be that when they become more, maybe the lover wants more, the woman starts to feel attached, the women stop it and say next, because what they're really looking is sex without an emotional commitment.
Oh, wow.
And then we have, in contrast to that, we have the love affair. And in the love affair, women tell me that everything was fine. Husband was good enough, partner was good enough, everything was going along. And then suddenly they walk across a room. They are somehow exposed. They go to a college reunion. They are surfing the internet for that guy they always had a crush on at work. Bingo. Very triangulated, husband, lover, wife, and very emotional, and probably the most complicated of the 4 types of affairs. And then finally, we have the self-esteem affair, which women of all ages describe to me. And that is where women say, wow, I've been taking care of these children. I have been working hard. My husband works long hours. My partner works long hours. My schedule is so busy. I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. And older women say the same thing. I've been with this man 30 years, 40 years. I feel invisible. And the lover makes the woman feel appreciated and noticed. And that's the self-esteem affair.
Wow. So, it's funny. I've heard of, the last 2, love affair and self-esteem affair. So you got the empowering affair. And then number 2 is the sex-driven. I guess sex-driven. Yeah, I guess I mean, I've heard of that, but more of love affair and self-esteem, I've heard more than the other 2.
Well, what's really happening, according to my research, and I've interviewed thousands of the women, over all these years, is that these categories really define the affair, but there can be crossovers. I mean, a few women have, in the sex-driven affair section, have actually fallen for the lover, despite their own rules, or women in the self-esteem affair section finally feel empowered because of something that happens with work or with the lover. So we're really seeing some crossovers, but these are at the same time pretty distinctive. And what's really fascinating is that I don't think that anyone plans the affair as much as they evolve. So this is a story about a journey for women. And women, a lot of these women are religious, are conventional, and yet they're willing to take the risk reward for the affair.
Are we seeing with these four types of affairs, are some of them long-term affairs? Can it be, I guess, the sex-driven and maybe the empowering affair? Can those be one or two night stands? You know, you're traveling, like you said before, or you're going a girl's trip, which, you know, I'm hearing more and more men don't like, you know. Are these type of affairs short term, you know, or it depends on the situation? Now, if you're overseas at Ibiza or something like that, well, maybe that might be a one-time affair. But the others, are there long term, short term, or again, it depends on the situation?
It depends on the situation, but some love affairs go on for a very long time.
Right.
And, you know, only about half of the women leave their marriages after the affair, and about half stay. And they're saying to me that the affair can show them what they have and don't have in the marriage, what is really missing. And then some women renegotiate their marriages based on the new awareness they have because of, you know, the affair, through the affair. And some women leave the marriage because they understand now what's missing and they no longer want to be with their partner or husband. However, only 35% of the women in my study end up with the lover.
Wow. Okay.
So he's sort of a bridge. The lover is really a bridge and really a form of self-care, if you will. You know, women are very good at using a splitting mechanism. So they remain a good wife, good mother if they have children, good daughter. And then, you know, one day a week, they're good lovers. So they're really able to compartmentalize these affairs to keep them going and keep the other parts of their lives as they were or as they are.
Now, like you said, that half the women leave the marriage and half end up staying. Now,
give or take, yeah.
Give or take, yeah, sure. So whether they're with a partner or with their husband, how does the other half feel then? I mean, do they accept that maybe they weren't emotionally available? They were, you know, working so much, 80 hours a week, that they didn't have time to, you know, to be with their significant partner, you know, because it's, what does the men feel about this, the partner? Because that's I guess a touchy subject there, right?
Well, women are really, really good at keeping the affairs a secret.
Right. Yeah, so better than men. I agree there.
Yeah. So the husbands really only find out if the women so choose, and they only so choose to reveal it if they're wanting to renegotiate the marriage based on the affair. And they feel that this would be useful to say, look, I had this affair, but I love you and I really appreciate our relationship. So this is what's missing. I've now learned, and I wonder if we could work harder, go into therapy, have date night, whatever it takes. And some men today, which is a departure from the past, are able to use it as a wake-up call.
Wow. Okay. Say, that's okay. Surprising. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't say everyone, you know, each.
No, of course.
but for enough of my interviewees, they're saying, you know what, my husband or my partner, he listened. And I don't know if he would have listened if I hadn't learned what I really need through the affair. So in a way, it's useful. So that's what they're saying to me. And, you know, what's really fascinating about this book is that it's now a podcast. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know. Oh, so yeah. Oh, wow, that's great.
She Wants More.
Okay.
And it's on iHeart, and Joe Piazza is the host. And the reason I bring it up is that what was so fascinating to me after promising these women anonymity and doing an interview with each woman for the book, where all identifying characteristics are changed.
Right.
So, you know, if your name is Thelma, it's something, you know, it's Darlene, you know, different name, different city or town. But what is true is the story of the lover with the lover. Right. So now, and and in the last 3 years, the interviews have been just extraordinary, probably because of COVID and a lot of cyberspace affairs and a sense that the world might be imploding. So why not? If not now, when? So that's been interesting. But in She Wants More, the iHeart podcast that launched on February 14th on Valentine's Day.
Good choice.
Yeah, right. I love that they did that. What's really so intriguing is that while again their names are changed, real women are talking about the affairs. So you hear their voices in the interviews and with Joe.
But no facial recognition or anything like that.
No, just
very
audio.
smart. Very smart. And I'll definitely want to talk more about that podcast. And obviously we talk more about your book, Your Passion for More. Where does that leave marriage in the future? If more women are feeling empowered? In fact, let's get to that question a little later. Sorry. Because let's talk about social media. Women are getting more, as they call it, DMs than ever before. I'm seeing this on Instagram where a woman might pose in a bikini or in a beautiful dress. All of a sudden, there's like 4,000 likes and like 150 comments. And some of the comments I read, hey, I would like to meet you. Wow, you look great. Are women using these as validation or as maybe, hey, this guy looks intriguing. Let me look him up and maybe get in contact with him. Is social media playing more and more part in women having affairs?
There's no question, and I'm glad you brought it up. There's no question that social media has tremendous impact on access,
right?
On meeting someone and on searching for something or someone. What social media and even our cell phones, which are like private phones, and our iPads or our desktops or our laptops, what they really allow along or offer along with social media is a chance to find someone, to be with someone in new ways, and to really control it better. Because when I first started this research, I mean, women were calling men from their lovers from payphones.
Yeah.
And whispering and praying. No one picked up the other line on their landline. I mean, those were the dark days, and the meeting was planned, and there wasn't like texting to confirm or change it 10 minutes before. So now there are so many ways to really make it happen.
Yeah, no, like I said, I've noticed that, and women are on their phones more than ever texting, and you don't know who they're texting. As a man, you see that, you go, oh, boy, now what's going on? You don't want to also jump the gun because they could be just texting your sister or whatever, but also you're now thinking, okay, especially with the way things are now, women feeling more empowered, they're making their own money now, they're becoming more and more entrepreneurs and things like that. Are men at a disadvantage now? Is marriage heading like now? What is it? 50% of marriages are end in divorce. Will we see 55% in 10 more years? 60% in 20 years? It's just.
Well, I've done enough research on the role of wife in contemporary society in America, and listened to enough women and really followed the social message, the societal messaging, the social construct of it, to say that marriage is highly touted, coveted, desired, still respected, and longevity and longing are the parts that make women, that create women searching for affairs. So what we're really looking at is still the message, the cultural prescription that to be married is a goal, a worthy goal, that it will somehow make us whole. The myth of the fairy tale that prevails. I mean, the idea that we'll be swept off our feet. And in all fairness to this men, it creates it makes the bar very high. Women hold the bar so high in terms of their partners. So he must be a confidant, a best friend, a lover, and a provider. Even
Right.
with the earning power that women have, many women, based on my research, still want the male partner to provide. In heterosexual relationships, women are still looking for that, and it's partly a throwback and partly, I think, a reflection of how hard it has been for women in earning power.
Yeah, I've heard that, like, some of women's standards are, I mean, like, some of them are like extremely high. That, they want a six-figure earner, they want them over 6 feet tall, they want them to have social status, things like that. Um,
A whole checklist.
yeah, it's a whole checklist. It's like
Yeah.
a 25-point checklist for a man. And it's
Right.
like, for most men, they can't accomplish that, especially when you're younger. And I'm talking about these women are in there, maybe under 35, 30, 25, 20. They already had that checklist. And men at that age, obviously you got a few that definitely become superstars, so to speak. But some men can't achieve that yet because they're
The
just finding themselves.
expectations, right, the expectations are very high, in all fairness to the men. On the other hand, we grow together as a couple, or we don't.
Right.
And that's really partly luck, a lot of skill, a lot of compromise. And some women are very disappointed.
Yeah.
And they also evolve in ways they might not have anticipated.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into a woman's decision to embark on an affair.
Yeah, we're talking with Susan Barash. Today's topic is infidelity and why women have affairs. But, I mean, first of all, Susan, thank you so much for being on People on Dating, taking time out of your busy schedule. I really had a great time. I probably could have talked to you for another 2 hours. Before I let you go, just a couple more things. Talk more about that podcast. She Wants More podcast.
So She Wants More is an iHeart podcast. It launched on February 14th. Joe Piazza is the host. She has several podcasts on iHeart. Okay. And she's talking to real women in real time about their affairs. And the podcast is, they're saying, inspired by, based on my book, A Passion for More. It's called She Wants More. She
Wants More. Great. And talk about your book, A Passion for More. Show it to us again. I'll definitely put it on the show notes. And yeah, that's a great looking book.
Passion for More.
Yeah.
30-year study on female infidelity, interviewing women of all ages, social strata, ethnicity, race, religion, all across the country, to hear what it is they yearn for and what happens with this other man.
No, sounds good. And anything else you would like to promote, Susan?
Well, definitely go to my website. I also write fiction, as I mentioned earlier, and I have a novel coming out in June. And
tell us more about that.
It's called Maribel's Shadow, and it's a very juicy, intriguing story, if I say so. And I'm really excited about that.
No, sounds good. And where can people find you? Give us social media, website.
Definitely, I'm on social media. And if you go to my website with my real name for my nonfiction, Susan Shapiro Barash, or Susanna Marin, my pen name for my fiction, I'll be there.
All right, sounds good. Well, again, Susan, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure, my pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.